Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Mayor Rich Hill from the village of Round Lake Beach. We're here again with our fireside chat. We're on the road today out at the Gurnee at the Swalco facility, the Solid Waste Agency of Lake County. We have our guest today, Walter Willis. Welcome, Walter.
Welcome.
A little bit about Walter. He's been the executive director of the Solid Waste Agency of Lake County since 2007. He's responsible for overseeing the agency's solid waste and resource management programs and implementing the Lake County Solid Waste Management Plan. Mr. Willis is a board member of the Illinois chapter of SWANA, an honorary board member of the Product Stewardship Institute, and was selected as chairman of the Illinois Food Scrap Coalition for 2016 and 2017. That's become more and more popular, the food scrap collection.
Correct.
Prior to joining Swalco, Mr. Willis worked in the waste industry as a consultant for approximately 20 years, developing solid waste management plans and assisting with solid waste facility development projects throughout the United States. He began his solid waste career with the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency in 1987 after receiving his master's in public administration from Southern Illinois University. Walter, welcome.
Thank you.
So just a quick little rundown on what Swalco is and its membership and how you guys function as an organization.
Yeah, as you said, we're the Solid Waste Agency of Lake County, and we have 43 municipal members, and we also have the County of Lake is a member of our agency, so a total of 44 members. And we're a municipal joint action agency, which is a special type of agency allowed under state law to allow units of local government to work together on different types of issues, and solid waste is the one we work on.
Wonderful. And we all have solid waste. It's coming from everybody. So.
Correct.
So how is the governing structure set up? You said there's 43 members, municipalities in the county, and how does that work together?
All the members had to sign an intergovernmental agreement. So we have an agreement, a document that basically established a board of directors and also an executive committee. So we have staff, and then we have to obviously report ultimately to the board of directors, and that's who creates the policy and does the final decision making. So we have that kind of setup.
Wonderful. So every agency needs to be funded. Are you funded through property taxes or some collection fees, or how do you get funded?
When the agency first started, we were solely funded by a fee that we're allowed to put on the landfills. And so that was allowed in the 1980s for areas that were hosting landfills could put a fee on there, and it's $1.27 per ton. And we split that money with the health department, who uses 25% of it to do inspections of all the facilities, and we take the 75%. That was the beginning of the agency, but right before I came on board in 2007, the landfill money was not as much. The landfills weren't taking as much garbage anymore, and so we had to diversify our funding. So we started what we call an operations and maintenance fee. So each of our members pays us $1.25 per household per year is kind of a membership fee. The landfill money is about 65% of our budget. That takes up about 25%, the O&M fee, and then the remaining 10% is additional revenues that we generate through our shoe and textile collection program generates money, and our recyclables. When markets are good and they're high value, we actually share in some of that revenue. So those are our main funding sources. No property tax. We're not allowed to levy one.
I'm sure all the people viewing are glad to hear that.
Right.
You mentioned about the recyclables. I know recently China said they're going to stop accepting recyclables from the other countries at all. How does that affect Swalco and getting the recyclables to be recycled?
We're lucky to have our own material recovery facility that's owned by Waste Management, but pretty much services Lake County. And you're right, China has, with their National Sword program, is basically cutting way back on the amount of imports of fibers, mixed paper and cardboard, and also containers, the plastics, etc. We're seeing a redirection of that material going into Vietnam and India and other places, but it's not absorbing all of that, the material that China is basically shutting out from the market. So what it is doing is it's hitting on a key issue that we have anyway, where we've gotten a little more lazy in our recycling, and we're putting too many contaminants in there, and it's hurting our competitiveness. Now the markets are tighter, the buyers can be pickier about the contamination levels, and they are getting pickier, and so that's pushing back on the recycling centers, who then have to clean it more, put more equipment in and more people to clean it, and then they're looking to us going, why do you have so much contamination? So part of it is on us to get the contamination down so our materials can compete better in the marketplace.
We do that by educating our own residents to wash out the cans, wash out the jars before they put them in the recycle bin.
Yeah, we continue to push the guidelines out. We work with members like yourself. Really the big issue we have with what people are doing wrong with their recycling is they're putting their recyclables in plastic bags and then putting those plastic bags in their recycling container. We want everything loose. So the plastic film is becoming a big issue, and that material needs to be taken to grocery stores where they have drop-offs for that. So, and the other big thing we're seeing is, people are putting items in there that clearly don't belong, like garden hoses, chicken bones, things like that. It's pretty simple. If it's paper or fiber, newsprint, junk mail, things like that, recycle. If it's a container that you bought something in, you don't have to spend too much time rinsing it out. You don't have to take labels off anything. And the other thing, a little tip is keep all the caps on. Any of your water bottles, your Snapples, whatever, put the cap back on so we can ride along and get recycled.
Oh, that's a great little tip. So how does SWACO assist the communities when we're trying to negotiate contracts or get recycling programs put in or garbage collection in general?
That's one of our big functions, is to really be the consultants to our members. What we're able to do is when we see a good program, since we have 43 municipalities, they're all coming up with new ideas and new things to do, or getting special things in their contracts with the haulers that maybe their neighbors didn't know about. So we bring that knowledge to our resident, or to our members, and help them. A good example would be, before I came here, we didn't have the idea of cart upgrades for recycling. So if you had a small 65 gallon and you wanted the bigger 95, we've got written into most contracts now that one time during the life of the contract, you can say, hey, I want the bigger recycling cart because I have more recycling. Most towns have that in their contracts now. The other thing we're seeing more and more in the contracts is electronics drop-off options, either at the curb or a drop-off just for the town. And then the food scrap is the other big one, letting it ride along with the yard waste, and that's something that you'll be starting in Round Lake Beach this spring.
Yes, we will. And I remember back in the old days we had little bins for our recycling, and then we went to the carts. What a big change that was, and the recycling just jumped up tremendously when you had that cart to put stuff in. Great idea.
It did. It did lead to more contamination because people said, "Oh, my garbage is full. I'll put it in the recycling." We don't want people to do that. Just leave it loose and do it right.
Does SWACO get involved with any IEPA issues involving Superfund sites or anything involving the IEPA?
We don't really do any regulatory function at all. We provide programs and consulting more, and we develop the solid waste plan for the county and work with the county board on that. But as far as the IEPA, we do have an agreement with the Illinois EPA to manage the material that we collect through our household chemical waste program.
Okay.
So we just extended that for a 5-year agreement. They actually, once we absorb the cost for collecting all the material, having the technicians here, holding the one-day events with you that's coming up here soon. But once we get it loaded onto the truck, the IEPA carries the cost on from there. So that's a very important agreement to us, worth several $100,000 every year to us. So that's an important agreement. And we also work very closely with the Illinois EPA on the electronics program, since they monitor and administer that program. And so we have quite a bit of give and take with them on that. But that's really about the extent of our involvement with the IEPA.
You mentioned earlier about the program we're going to be having in Round Lake Beach where we're adding a new recycling center. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a great thing. I know this has been something that the village has been working on for several years, and the county has helped out with that project. We've really only got one public drop-off in the county, and that's in Grays Lake.
Right.
We have a couple other drop-offs in Lake Bluff and Lake Forest, but you have to be a resident to use those drop-offs. Grays Lakes is open to the entire county, and it collects a significant amount of material. You've got a lot of people in multifamily housing that don't have access to recycling. You've got a lot of small businesses that if they maybe don't want to pay for the recycling, but if they collect it, they can take it to the drop-off. So that's going to be a great thing for Round Lake Beach and its residents. And I know it was something that you guys have wanted to do for a while, and I think it's going to be really successful.
I know former trustee Larry Mount would be very proud of this happening finally. He pushed this for many years when he was chairman of SWACO, and He made sure that we kept on working on it, and even though he's no longer in town, I'm sure he'll be watching us on video.
You know, yeah, you're right, Larry. That was one of his things. He always had a little competition with Grays Lake, friendly, about the amount of recyclables that were
Yes.
collected between the two towns. And what typically put Grays Lake over the top with you guys was their drop-off.
Yes.
Because those pounds, those tons, added to Grays Lakes. So now you'll have those.
Okay, better competition.
That's right.
And also we have a collection program coming up not too in late April also.
Yeah, so the way our household chemical waste program works is, and we'll be talking and looking at that later today, is that we have 2 events a month here. And of course, Gurnee is in the eastern part of the county, northeastern. So we try to go to other parts of the county and hold one-day events where people can come. And we usually get 500 to 700 cars at those events. And we're coming up in Round Lake Beach, April 28th,
Yes.
from 8 a.m. to 2:30 at the train station, the Metro train station. So we encourage people to come to that event and get rid of your household chemical waste. Check out the materials that we collect. Either give us a call or check out our website at swalco.org, so swalco.org.
It's really important that people do that as they get ready, especially spring coming up. You start cleaning your garage out, you clean your shed out. Don't
Correct.
put this stuff in the regular garbage, it's poison. And let's get it disposed of properly and cleaned up, and you guys do a great job at that.
Right.
So what happens to the recycled materials when you guys get, or actually when the waste hauler picks them up? You said there's a sorting facility right in Lake County, and I think I saw our Lake County Chairman Aaron did a Dirty Jobs episode there at one time.
He did. That facility opened, I think, in 1997, and it's really been a key piece of infrastructure to help us grow our recycling programs. Across the county, the residences, almost every single family home in the county has recycling now.
That's good.
And we've got. I lost my train of thought on
The recycling center and
right, the
sorting
recycling center. Thanks. It's kind of the key to that, and it has helped us grow our programs, and it does have capacity, so we can still be recycling more and bringing more material to that facility.
Great. And one area that's been a very sore subject for a lot of people, mostly because they aren't educated properly, is transfer stations. Our landfills are filling up. We need to transfer that garbage out away from the area so they can build new landfills or do whatever they're going to do with the landfill, with the garbage. I know they put a little transfer station over at Round Lake Park a couple of years ago. Can you talk about a little bit about that, how it's working, how much misinformation was wrong about it that the community was talking about versus what is actually operating?
Yeah, we before we changed the plan in 2009, Lake County's plan did not allow transfer stations to be developed because we had 2 in-county landfills and we didn't really have a need for a transfer station to export our garbage. We've been pretty self-reliant on having our own facilities, but there is a point in time where your landfill capacity starts to dwindle, and you don't want to wait too long to open the door to other alternatives to come
A little
into the
overlap
county.
between the two, yes.
So that was the thinking in '09. We opened that door, and then several years later, Groot decided to move ahead with a facility in Round Lake Park, as you indicated. And there were a lot of concerns about the facility in the beginning, which there typically are. People are concerned about property values and truck traffic. And I think that facility has proven to be a pretty good neighbor.
I think so too, and I remember reading and hearing people complain there's going to be garbage blowing all over the place, it's going to smell terribly, and I don't think any of that's ever come true because they run such a clean facility nowadays.
All right. And as our landfills continue to lose capacity, there will be a day when we won't have an urban landfill in Lake County. We're pretty lucky that we have one. Cook County has no landfills left, and DuPage County won't allow any more, nor will McHenry County. So, but as those facilities close, we'll see the need for more transfer stations. In Cook County, there's over 40 transfer stations.
Wow. I guess they need to, especially Cook County. They're pretty much landlocked. They need to move that garbage out to areas that aren't. Anything else you want to discuss, Walter?
I do want to, kind of highlight a couple other programs that we're pretty proud of. We work with the local law enforcement, including your law enforcement, to have a county-wide pharmaceutical collection program, and we have done that for almost 3 years now. And we typically collect about 13,000 pounds of drugs. And we are getting the controlled substances out of there, for the whole opioid issue. And we've taken literally about $1.5 million worth of drugs off the street. So we're very proud of that program. And we're also very proud of our clothing and textile program. It's amazing how much clothing still ends up on our landfills, and there is value for that. And so we actually generate revenue and share with our collection partners in our collection boxes. We have 28 of them now in different locations, and we've got over 50 dedicated shoe collection locations where we collect shoes only. And shoes have quite a bit of value for us in our agency when we work with our textile vendor.
I know I always try to donate things to Goodwill first, to be reused through that. The things that you collect, are those used for people to wear, or is it just cut up for rags later, or what's the purpose of that?
Typically what we're told by our vendor, Chicago Textile Recycling, is probably more than half the material is worthy of being graded and sold again for it to be worn. And shoes especially, it's a higher percentage. Shoes, typically you'll, especially younger kids, they'll grow out of their shoes and they still have a lot of tread on them, so it makes sense to have those reused again. So, but you're right, some of the clothing and things that we get are not something that can be sold again, and they do go into the rag industry. So all that stuff gets reused in one way or another.
Tremendous. Well, why don't we take a little break and we'll take a little walk through the facility and talk to Steve in the back.
Sounds good,
Thank
Rich.
you, Walter.
Okay.
Well, we're back. We're in the back room now of Swalco. We're here with Steve. He's a chemical waste engineer for Swalco.
Correct, sir.
Welcome, Steve.
Thank you, Mayor.
And you can
Nice
tell us
to
a little
meet
bit about the room we're in right now.
you. Sure. Well, first of all, this is our household chemical waste facility. There's only 4 in the state of Illinois.
Wow.
We built this facility, started construction in '01, took occupancy in '02. It's 8,000 square foot facility. 3,500 is our office building up front, with 4,500 square foot as our chemical warehouse facility. What we do in this facility, the chemical warehouse, we run our, we call them public drop-off events, where we'll collect household cleaners from residents around the area, and we recycle it. We keep that material, the hazardous materials, out of the landfills, out of the sanitary systems.
Yep.
So we run multiple events a year here. We do 23 events a year at this facility. It's always the second Saturday, fourth Monday of every month, except for December because of the Christmas holiday. You got to buy presents for the kids. You got to take that day off. And what people do if they want to get rid of their household products, and these are products that you buy from Ace Hardware stores, your cleaners, your spick and spans, disinfectants used in the bathroom and kitchens, your garden chemicals, herbicides, pesticides, all your automotive, gas, oil, drain cleaners. Instead of throwing that in the garbage when you don't want that anymore, folks bring it here, we package it, and then we work with the EPA and we ship it out for recycling. So when folks want to come to the facility and drop off their chemical waste, they log onto our website, swalco.org, click on the I want to schedule an appointment tab. It'll show a calendar, show the dates that we're open. You click on the date that you want to come. It'll open up a series of time slots. You pick your time slot, and then you're registered.
Sounds very easy.
It is.
Great.
It's great. So then people will show up at their time slots. So you sign up. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. You drive through the backside of the building here. There's an overhead canopy outside these doors. You stop. You don't even have to get out of your car. You stay in your car. Our people unload your car. Then you're free to go.
That's great service.
Yeah, and other people are right behind you, so it's a big process. It's faster than the fast food joints, to be honest with you. So when we bring the material into this room here, I have a series of environmentally trained subcontractors from Veolia, hazardous waste people that are trained in OSHA, DOT, hazardous materials training. We look at the material and we segregate it into hazard classes. We have to figure out, is it a flammable, is it corrosive, is it an oxidizer, reactive, is it a poison? And based on that, we have to package it appropriately according to the DOT regulations.
Okay.
And that's really one of the main reasons why people can't drop off during the week. Number one, our permit doesn't allow for that. Number two, I need these environmentally trained people. I just can't take volunteers off the street. You have to have a chemistry background, hazardous materials
You can't
recognition.
stack up in a pile here. You have to make sure you separate it right away, because things
Correct.
can be reactive to each other.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't want incompatibles together
Right.
for a long period of time. So this is the room. We call it our segregation room. So when the folks come in, we'll take our carts, we'll unload the material from the car, bring it in here. That cart will be full of various types of containers, and I've got some of them up on the stands for display here. So the products we have in this corner are called corrosives. They're either a high pH product or a low pH product. The high pH product are called your caustic liquids. That's what we have in these 3 drums here. Everybody uses Drano to unplug their drains. This is a very high pH material, corrosive, bleach white to clean your tires, bathroom Tilex, Comet, deck sealers. This is an example of a caustic liquid that we package. We have bleach. We keep a separate drum solely for bleach. We have a separate drum for ammonia. You can see by the date, by the ammonia container, it's a Dominix container. Dominix hasn't been in business for a while. So, and that's one of the things that happens is people buy these materials and they keep them a long, long time. Well, what happens over time with chemical waste is it tends to degrade and it decomposes, and it starts, it loses its stability and whatnot. So you really, with the chemical waste, you really don't want to store it for a long period of time because of the decomposition that takes place. You also don't want to mix ammonia and the bleach products together. You do that, you release chlorine gas. And that's
very toxic.
Very,
yes.
very toxic. That's why we package the bleach separate from the ammonia. The 2 drums over here in the corner are acid drums. Muriatic acid is also called hydrochloric acid, same one and the same. People use that to strip their driveway floor. Everybody wants to get the epoxy flooring on their driveways now. So they etch the concrete floor. That's what they use the hydrochloric muriatic acid for. With the recent rains, everybody's switching out sump pumps. That's what's in this in this cardboard box is the sulfuric acid additive to the sump pump battery. So those are very strong acids. Next to it are also acids, but they're weaker acids. The CLR everybody uses to clean out their coffee pots, or the Lysol products that you spray in your bathroom to descale the scale off the tiles. It's a mild acid and it dissolves the calcium product. Some other waste streams that we collect are oil-based paints. We collect these because they're flammable. They have a solvent base in them. So we want all the oil-based paints that you have, the stains, the lacquers, the thinners, and what we'll do with those, we'll put them into this box. We'll fill up this box, and then during the course of the week, we'll actually process those cans into a paint can crusher. I'll show you later, where we extract the liquid paint out and put that into a 55-gallon drum. And then the carcass itself is crushed, and then that goes to the landfill. So this box here, any oil-based paint that comes in, we'll put into here and we'll process at a future time. In this Gaylord box behind here, we call it an adhesive box. Basically, it's your glues, it's your driveway sealers, it's your caulks.
Okay.
They also are flammable, believe it or not. So we collect that product. And these 2 products are shipped off, again, through an EPA permit and used as secondary fuel in cement kilns and whatnot. So they don't have to always use natural gas. They can actually burn this product because it has a BTU value.
You mentioned about the oil-based paints, the water-based paints, so they can buy a drying kit for that and put it in a normal landfill?
Correct. We don't want latex paint, the oil-based paints, because it's non-hazardous. And it just really, uses up a lot of our budget money. So we want the hazardous materials. So yes, you're correct. Latex paint, the easiest way to determine if you have latex paint is look at the back side of the can. If it says clean your brushes out in soap and water, that's latex paint. If it says clean your brushes out in turpentine or mineral spirits, that's oil-based. So if you have latex paint, Ace Hardware stores take latex paint back and they recycle it for a fee. They'll actually, under a contract, reblend it and sell it back out in the marketplace. Or you can do the solidification process that you were talking about. Add kitty litter or oil dry to it, turn it into a mud consistency, and then leave the lid off, and that can go in your refuse. Some of the other products that we collect are aerosols. toxic aerosols. Obviously, your weed spray, your wasp spray, and your outdoor repellent that's used for mosquitoes. This is all flammable, but it's also toxic. So we collect this. This is sent off for incineration. Other types of aerosols we collect are just standard flammable aerosols, your WD-40 and your paints, your goof off. This is toluene based, so it's a solvent base. This is flammable. This gets sent out to a fuels blender, and what they wind up doing is they crush the cans, they extract the flammable propellant, they distill the propellant, and they use that for secondary fuel. Okay. Mercury. Mercury is a very toxic material. A little bit goes a long way in contaminating the water supply. Obviously, everybody's seen the old thermometers back in the day. We collect these. Everybody's been upgrading recently to the smart thermostats. The old dial thermostats had ampules of mercury in them. That's a lot of mercury that people had in their house. We collect this now. We send this off to a recycler. They actually redistill it and they sell it back out in the marketplace to automotive industries and what have you for anti-lock brake systems and things to that nature. One of the more hazardous materials that we get at the facility here are oxidizers. They're very reactive. These are called chlorinated tablets. These are oxidizers that you use in your spas or in your pools. They disinfect the water, kill the algae. OxyClean you use obviously in your laundry. It's a weaker peroxide, hydrogen peroxide for cuts, and again another chlorinating. This is called oxidizers. These are relatively reactive, and you want those separate from any type of flammable material. Some more products that we get are your toxic solids. Everybody uses these in their gardens and whatnot. It's your pesticides, your rose dusts, your 7 to kill all the mites and insects that you have. Fertilizer is a toxic solid, and anthrax. We'll go ahead and we'll package this material up. This material is classified as poisons. It gets sent out for incineration. Same thing with these drums here. Instead of, the only difference is these are liquids, toxic liquids. Again, your repellent that you use for mosquitoes, your herbicides that you use to kill the weeds around the house. We package this material up, and this also goes off for incineration. Flammable liquids, the smaller containers of flammable liquids are packaged in a loose pack. So we take the individual container and put it into the drum. This is typical product, the Rain-X you use on your windshield. Your perfume products are flammable, and your disinfectants for your hands, as isopropyl alcohol, that's flammable.
Things you never think about being flammable.
Exactly. So I'm not trying to, I don't want you to, I'm not trying to teach you all the hazard classes and all the DOT descriptions and whatnot. My goal here is to help you visualize. I do have this product around my house. Maybe I shouldn't be putting this in the garbage. Maybe I should bring it to Swalco for proper disposal.
Absolutely.
So
good education.
That's why I have the product out as I do. Any antifreeze that we get from the auto mechanics, I shouldn't say auto mechanics, from the homeowners, we'll go ahead and we'll pour off the antifreeze into a 55-gallon drum. This is just a collection basin. You'll take the container, pour it off. It drains into a 55-gallon drum. We have a float assembly to tell when we're filling up the drum to capacity so that we don't overflow a drum.
And what do they do with it then? Is it get reused or?
Yes, this is a recycled product, so it gets sent out to a blender, and they go ahead and they filter it and then strengthen it and then sell it back out to the marketplace.
Great to hear.
Okay. Another product that we pour out of the containers is flammable liquids. We're talking about safety features. Because we have flammable product around here, we have to put grounding straps and bonding straps to the container. We'll take, we have a lot of boat owners here in Lake County. They want to get rid of their gas at the end of the season. We'll take their container, we'll pour it off into a 55-gallon drum, give them their container back if they wish. But that's the same process. We'll pour it off into here, goes into a 55-gallon drum. Drum fills up, tells it we're full. We top it, we secure the lid. This is shipped out again for fuels blending, similar to some of the other products that we have. We have ventilation hoods here that are pulling air across the work area So as you're pouring material, you're not getting vapor accumulation, so there's no need for respiratory protection when you do so. And motor oil, this is what we pour off motor oil into this basin. Again, it's got a fume hood in front of it for vapor accumulation. The motor oil drains off into this basin. There's a discharge pipe that feeds out to an outside storage tank, a 1,000-gallon waste oil storage tank. Again, this is emptied out on a routine basis, and we send that out for recycling. Okay, so with the new lighting technology, obviously everybody's switching to LEDs. As what we see coming in as a result of that are a lot of the CFL, the curlicue bulbs that we've had in the past, and that's what we have behind you. So we'll take a drum and we'll collect the CFLs, the old kitchen lights. The reason why we collect these is because mercury content. They have mercury vapor in them. We also collect 4-foot tubes that everybody has in their garages or downstairs basements. These are 4-foot lamps. We also collect the 8-foot lamps also. So then we'll ship these out under an Illinois EPA permit to a disposal facility where they actually crush them under a vacuum. They recapture the mercury vapor, and then they recycle the glass and the aluminum tips.
Very good.
Sell back out in the marketplace. And one more product that we get are called flammable solids. Road flares you have in your car, we'll take those products. People don't think about it, but the mothballs that you have in your house that you use to kill the moths and your hope chest and whatnot, that's also a flammable solid. So we'll take that from residents, and this is shipped off and incinerated. One thing we expended a lot of money on this facility. We spent $2 million on the facility, and a large part of that is due to the safety features that we need in this facility because of the type of materials that we handle all the time. We have safety showers located throughout the facility in case somebody gets splashed. We also have a ventilation system that exchanges 6 air exchanges an hour, so air is coming in, air is being pulled out at the same time, so we don't get vapor accumulation in the facility. We have a smoke beam detector that basically shoots a laser beam across the 2 corners of this room here, that if it detects any type of smoke particulates, it'll alarm the security system, and they'll call me and say you got to
Very good.
All right. And in addition to that, we have a high expansion foam system. If we ever have a problem with a fire, we don't have
some of the chemicals accidentally get mixed together and
something happens and we have ignition for some reason. This is not sprinklered like a regular warehouse office facility. We have high expansion foam systems, and that's that red box up on the ceiling. It will fill a warehouse up in 10 feet of foam in 3 minutes time, snuff out the fire.
Wow. Very
so
good.
That was we
Good to
spent
hear
a lot.
that.
Yes, so very, very safe process. Very, very well designed facility. And Mayor, if you ever want a side job, come on over. I've got a job for you. I'm talking about the paints that we generate, that we collect, and we package into those Gaylord boxes and individual cans. During the course of the week, we bring in a technician, and they take those individual cans, put them into this can crusher, and what it does is it'll crush the can. So you put the can in here, you close the door, the ram comes down, the pin comes up, smashes a hole in the can, the liquid product goes off into a 55-gallon drum, and then the carcass is kicked out into a dumpster, and the carcass gets landfilled. But we've processed millions of cans of paint, so again, the offer is open if you want.
Glad to hear that.
Thank you. Use the help. So at the end of the day, when we're done with our last car and we've packaged everything up, we bring it over to this side of the facility. This is called our storage room. All the product here is put in appropriate drums. It's labeled. It's ready for off-site shipment. We have capacity here for about 55-gallon drums. We have a storage permit. We can't exceed 90 days. We also have the capacity agreement. So during our busy months, we're shipping waste out of here every 30 days. Very, very busy process. So.
Well, thank you very much, Steve, for the tour and the information about SWACO, what you guys do here. And Walter, thank you very much for your help today during our conversation earlier. You can join us back in Round Lake Beach on April 26th. We're going to have Bruce Johnson from NYCASA come out, talk about teen court and some other things that NYCASA does to help the residents of Lake County and beyond. And we'll see you back in Round Lake Beach. Thank you, everyone.